Now, who knows Naspers? Ah, interesting. Naspers is actually a South African company. But, yeah, Fahd, introduce yourself. What are you doing at this gigantic firm?
So I'm the Chief Investment Officer of Naspers in Process and run our M&A and investment activity and sit on our investment committee.
You're the gatekeeper. If you pass this man, I think you have a good chance. Now, Process is a new company. I think it was a spin-off. Can you explain the difference between Process and Naspers?
Sure, it wasn't quite a spin-off. So what we did is we took our international assets, so i.e. everything other than our South African assets, put them together and listed them on the Euronext in Amsterdam. And that created Europe's largest internet company by far, second largest tech company, and a benchmark stock effectively. Naspers remains a 75% shareholder of Process and is listed in Johannesburg. The strategy is completely unchanged. The management team is the same for both companies, and the investment philosophy hasn't changed at all. So why did we do it, right? So firstly, it's by listing on the Euronext, we've opened ourselves up to a global pool of investor capital that would not or could not invest in a South African listed company. Secondly, we were just too big for the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, so we were over 25% of the index there. Oof. And given single stock concentration issues, we were trading at a massive discount to our sum of the parts, which wasn't warranted. And by listing and moving effectively a quarter of our market cap into Europe and a global investor base, our goal is to take that down to about 15%, which is standard for a diversified company such as ours.
And the Tencent stake sits in there also?
In Process. So everything other than our South African businesses, which is Takealot, couple of other things, but everything else sits in Process.
It's so interesting how a cable company from South Africa or a telecommunications company became this global internet giant. No? So let's talk a little bit about what Process actually do. You have lots of stakes and assets. You're a company builder, you are an investor, you're an operator. What is the core strategy of Process?
Look, our core strategy is to find great entrepreneurs and partner with them to build platform potential businesses in high growth markets, right? Now, when we look at a business, we look at three things. Does this address a big societal need? So like
big
food,
market.
health, education, right? Does it operate in growth markets? And historically, we used to focus on the emerging markets, and growth markets aren't necessarily emerging. We look at investments globally. Any market where that business has the potential to grow is of interest to us. And then we want to invest in businesses where we can build a sustainable leadership position, right? So we're both an operator and a strategic thematic investor. And I think being an operator makes us a better investor and vice versa.
And can you describe the verticals you're operating in?
Sure, absolutely. So the three main verticals we're focused on are classifieds, food delivery, and payments.
And you came in before the Delivery Hero IPO. I remember you took a stake.
Yes,
as an
that's
example.
right. Yes, so and I'll talk a little bit more about each, but effectively what all three of these verticals have in common, while being very different, is that each of them has a large TAM. There's a huge market opportunity here globally. There's a structural growth story, and we enjoy growth rates of 30 to 60%, across our businesses in general. And at scale, they've got attractive unit economics as well, right? So yeah, we're very happy with the three verticals we're in, the three segments we're in, and
you're looking for a fourth?
Continuing to invest. Well, I mean, we've got another important part of Process is our ventures arm. And if you look at each of these three segments, they started from a small business that we invested in and grew through M&A and organic investments, and turned into a global leader. And ventures is there to help us find the next growth vector for the organization. So if you take the example of food delivery, which you referenced a second ago. A few years ago, we invested in a business called iFood in Brazil, as a venture investment, scaled that up to make it the Latin American leader and one of the best food companies in businesses, online food delivery businesses in the world. On the back of that, realized there's a massive opportunity here, and I've spent nearly $3 billion over the last couple of years, and it's obviously before the transaction we've announced recently to help develop that into a leading segment, right? And then recently we've spun that out of ventures and turned it into its own standalone segment. Now, if you look at other areas where we're investing, we've made almost half a dozen investments in the education space, most recently Baiju in India, but Udemy in the US. So addressing different parts of the digital education landscape.
Can you disclose?
It's publicly disclosed. I believe off the top of my head, it's around 15-20%.
Wow. We had them in Berlin 3 years ago.
Okay.
Great company.
Yeah. And
so education would be like a potentially new vertical.
So it could be. It's not today. We've got a few different seeds we planted. We're very happy with how that's developing.
We had yesterday an online university on stage who make over 100 million revenues.
Yeah, no, I think it's a fantastic opportunity across various parts of the segment. Blockchain's another area where we're doing quite a bit. I wouldn't say investing a lot of capital because the investment opportunities are small, but also looking beyond crypto into the broader space. You know, and yeah, so we invest thematically. We've got a few theses where we're investing behind. Yeah.
Do you have investment pressure?
Absolutely not. We've got plenty of capital.
No investment pressure as to invest.
Yeah, but we've got plenty of capital, but we're going to deploy it when we find the right opportunities, right? So we're in no hurry, and we'll invest in the right opportunities. Yeah.
So we had Ocado on stage in NOAH Tel Aviv, and they were talking a lot about how we are going to eat in the future, and the supermarkets and the restaurant, and my desire to cook myself and poison lots of people. What's your vision about the food market? I mean, are these restaurants, especially the ones not part of a big chain, are they going to make it to the next decade? Cloud kitchens, clearly there are a lot of different models. You had HelloFresh going public, and you have the delivery heroes, you have Ocado. What is your fascination, and what do you see in this sector?
Look, again, I think you know, it's a massive opportunity in our view, right? And if you look at, you know, as I said, we've put nearly $3 billion in the last 2 or 3 years into the space. If you look at what we're focused on is primarily online restaurant delivery. If you look at how that space has evolved, a few years ago, takeout meant some guy putting a flyer under your door and you dialing a number to order a pizza, right? Then it moved into a listings model online. And it's developed now into logistics, dark kitchens.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's about, you know, what these companies are trying to do is they're trying to make restaurant delivery more convenient, provide more selection for the consumer, provide a better service in terms of the time it takes, and provide cheaper price points, and open up this market and expand that. And we think we're at the beginning of that.
There's a chance to have people eat healthy and maybe not throw away so much food anymore.
Yeah, I think those are all. I think like with any innovation, I think there'll be you know, social questions thrown out that we need to tackle head on.
Yeah, the packaging is a disaster. When you order food in, you get so much plastic. It looks like the Flintstones.
Yeah, I think that's an issue everybody needs to address. Yeah.
Right. Classifieds is a funny one, right? And you bought the asset OLX from a friend, Fabrice Grinder, and you really, with Let Go, built a global business. What's the future of classifieds? A lot of people are concerned about Facebook Markets, who's clearly addressing the same need to trade and exchange used items. You are obviously very heavily invested in the sector. Can you give us a little background on that vertical, which I think is an exciting one?
So let me maybe spend a minute talking about our business, and I'll talk about, I'll address your question around Facebook. So look, I mean, again, this is a business where we're in 40 markets. We're market leader in about 30. You
like the emerging markets, no?
Well, I think that's kind of been our background, but I'll come to Let Go in a second, right? But we have an active monthly audience of 350 million users. That's one of the largest commerce audiences globally, right? We believe we are the market leader globally. We are growing at twice any other large player. If you look at profitability in some of our larger, more developed markets like Russia and Poland, where we're at 60% profit margins. and we continue to invest, right? So Let Go, we saw an opportunity in the US to attack that market. We saw fragmentation happening, or what happened.
Don't let go, huh?
and we think that there's room to build a sustainable business there. Now, Facebook, what does competition make you do? It makes you smarter, it makes you better, it makes you faster. And we're focused on improving our product and our customer experience. And we have the scale to be able to compete, right? So Facebook is a formidable competitor, don't get me wrong. But we welcome the competition and feel it makes us better, actually.
Do you use Facebook as a platform?
I shut down my Facebook account a few months ago.
Let's talk about payments. It's an amazing size. I mean, this sector, if you add up all the market cap and add the private companies, I would argue it's probably getting close to the e-commerce players. Yeah. Payments is an interesting vertical. You're relatively small there. I think you're going, obviously, with PayU into that sector. Allegro, I understood, is still a customer. Wonderful. What is your vision for that sector? And since we have so many payment companies coming to NOAH, what they should be aware of if they want to do more business with you?
Look, I mean, I think we again see a huge opportunity there, right? Digital payments is a massive structural growth story. There's a lot of innovation happening in the space. And it's as much of a focus for us as our other segments. I think where we continue to very actively look at ways to grow there through investing. If you look at our payments business, right, we've got about half our business is in India, where we're the #1 digital PSP, and then we've got leading positions in other great markets like Eastern Europe, Turkey, Latin America. We recently entered Southeast Asia, and our goal is to build the leading digital PSP in the growth markets, right? In India, we see an opportunity to actually build out a broader ecosystem. So we're really looking at credit there. We're looking at what else we can do in terms of digital financial services. So it's a super exciting opportunity for us. So I think we continue to actively invest globally in that space.
And would you do larger deals there also?
We'd absolutely consider larger deals, yeah.
And new verticals, we talked about education. We have a lot of healthcare businesses here. Is healthcare exciting to you?
It is an exciting space, and it was one of the earlier theses from our ventures team, and we made one investment in the sector. It's a challenging space, right? Because in Western market, many cases it's socialized. In other markets, is there a scale opportunity? It's regulated. It's hard to find a global play. So we do continue to look at opportunities there, but have yet to make a big move in that space.
We had the founder of Cree yesterday here on stage, and my question was, who's going to pay for it? Is it the payer or is it the patient? Yeah. And it's different country by country. Yeah. Regulation seems to be a problem. Huh? I have the view that the world is getting so complicated. The people who made the world complicated should regulate it, not the people who don't understand what's going on. And regulation seems to be also a big issue for the banking app market, right? Where you have lots of companies, lots of needs, lots of bank accounts. Is the regulation something for you an issue? Are you feeling uncomfortable about some sectors which are not regulated enough or too regulated? Regulation was, on this conference, probably the #1 used term, clearly because we have very innovative companies who are stretching the envelope. But are you trusting our politicians to regulate our world proper?
I mean, I think it's a really broad subject, right? And kind of a little outside my sort of personal focus. No, but I mean, I think an area like financial services and digital banking you need to have regulation, right?
Yes.
And I actually think many regulators are taking a very pragmatic approach towards regulation there. So I think it depends on the regulator and what you're regulating, right? But certain services just, you can't have them without regulation. It's going to cause chaos for consumers otherwise, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, they were, especially in the banking app, I think, while they grow so fast, they probably haven't grown yet compliance as fast as the number of users. Maybe one tip for our attendees, for our audience: how do you engage with large companies like yours the best way? Should we email you? Should we wait in front of your doorstep? Put a note on your car?
Please don't
What
do that.
is the best way to get access?
Look, we've got teams that are focused on each of the segments we laid out. As I said, we're a focused thematic investor, and we get a lot of approaches about investing in things that are outside our scope. So we have teams embedded within each of our segments that are focused on that sector.
So they shouldn't all call you. They should go on LinkedIn and check who's the head of this and that.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I think we can certainly, I think through our website they can navigate the way towards the right people.
I was wondering when you split the company, because it was so big, and if you look at Process and Naspers, they're so different. I think you really set the company for the right course and path, and we are very excited to continue to show you great companies to look at. And yeah, wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks,
Fahd.
Marco.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Say hi to Bob from me.